Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to In the Office with Scott and Wallace. Of course, this is every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I'm here with my good friends and law partners, Matt McNamara and Clint Wallace. And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to ask me anything or answer anything you have. I guess hashtag AMA. I just learned what that was. So Megan's behind the camera today, and she's going to moderate for us. So if questions roll in, we'll answer them. Business or personal, apparently. So we're an open book today.
All right.
But y'all want to say hello to everybody on Facebook?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Clint Wallace here. I bet my mom's watching, so hey, Mom.
Matt McNamara. Not sure who'd be watching for me, but hello to everybody.
And, of course, Robert Scott here. And I think I do have a super fan in my mother as well. So
I had to get on my mom.
Well, I will say your entire office staff is watching right now, so anything you want to say to them?
All right, get back to work. So, no, we have the best staff in the world. We're so proud of all of them. So, why don't we, while we're waiting for a question, why don't we ask a question? Robert, what you been working on today?
So, we've talked a lot about car accidents recently or I guess you say in the office at Scott Wallace, and we've answered a lot of questions pertaining to that. But I've actually been working on a couple of premises liability cases.
Okay. What is premises liability?
Yeah, so premises liability, that's the legal term for a slip and fall or trip and fall incident. And it actually, shouldn't just limit to that. It can be anything involving an injury suffered by someone on someone else's property.
Yeah, we had the shooting case.
Shooting case, sometimes any type of crimes we've run into them with sexual assaults on at apartment complexes, for example, and so they can take a multitude of forms. Slip and fall and trip and fall being the most common, what people are most accustomed to.
Sure. Well, tell me how does that work?
So we always like to start out when we talk about these cases with the common misconception, and that is you hear a lot of times. We get calls from time to time where someone says, I fell on someone's property and I've got medical bills and I want to hire you to represent me, and we have to kind of pump the brakes a little bit because just because you're injured on someone else's property does not mean that the landowner or the property owner is automatically liable to you. Just for starters, the fact that you are injured on someone else's property does not trigger liability. What we have to prove is that there was a dangerous condition that existed on the property that the landowner failed to remedy or failed to warn you about, and that caused your injury.
Okay.
Interjecting really quick, you guys. Matt, you've got Holly says, I'm watching for you, Matt.
Thanks,
and
Holly.
Summer says, home watching with a sick kid today.
Hope Tylen's feeling better, Summer.
And then
Summer's one of our all-star staff. So.
Yes. And then right here we've got John. He says, what type of cases do you typically handle on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Majority of all of our cases for Robert and I are people that have been injured. Typically, premises liability cases like Robert's talking about, car accident cases, dog bite cases. I was at a mediation on Friday with a case involving a dog bite. Matt here handles cases. Well, I'll let you tell the kind of cases you handle. So.
I do mostly labor and employment law, so anything that falls in that arena. As I've discussed on previous Live in the Office, Scott and Wallace, a good bit of discrimination, harassment claims, but also workers' compensation claims as well. So while they handle the injury side, I'm more of the employment side of things here.
And something interesting on that, you were working on a whistleblower claim. People have probably heard that term before.
It's more than just a referee, right?
Right, agreed.
Tell me, what is that?
So a whistleblower is Florida law protects individuals who essentially blow the whistle on illegal practices happening at their place of employment. For instance, you have an employer who's subject to certain federal regulations. Let's say they handle toxic substances, things like that. If they are not following regulations and they know that they're not, and an employee goes to the employer and says, hey, we're not doing this by the code, we're not following the law on this issue. If the employer was to terminate that employee because of making that complaint and raising that illegal practice and bringing it to their attention, then they would have a claim under Florida's Whistleblower Act. And there's actually a statute for both private sector as well as public sector employees.
Okay, and Megan here says, what inspired you two to get into business together? I'm assuming you're talking about Robert and Clint.
Okay, yeah. We met each other in law school and we talked about doing this. Robert went out and was a prosecutor for a couple of years to get courtroom experience. I did construction law on an international level for a couple of years, and we knew this was what we were going to do. And that was 9 years ago, right? So time's really flown by. So
yeah, we were very good friends to begin with, and I always knew that Clint was someone that I trusted immensely, and that was a hard worker, and we had a common vision about what we could establish and build in our community, and hopefully that's what people think we're doing. So.
And you kind of touched on this, but Lauren says, what made you decide to become personal injury attorneys?
Okay, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, my father's an attorney in South Carolina. He doesn't do trial work like we do, but obviously was a mentor to me and someone I grew up admiring, and I always kind of thought of myself as being a lawyer one day. But when I started to, get through college, and then, of course, got into law school, I was exposed to trial practice, fell in love with it, and it gets me out from behind the paperwork a little bit and into a courtroom, which is, I think, very exciting. Pursuing things that matter for people, and it's a very rewarding experience. To try a case and win it for somebody.
Sure. So. I think for me, it sounds cliche, but it's helping people. When I was working with the construction, it's two big companies going against each other. The whole grand scheme, it matters to them, but they're two big companies here. We get to help people that when they're injured, they don't have money to pay medical bills, and they're out of work, and it's their family that's suffering from that, and it's incredibly rewarding to help those type of people. So it may sound cliche, but it's right.
What about you, Matt?
Kind of the similar vein to you guys that you touched on. Helping other individuals. I know whether it's an injury or losing your job or something, those are two extremely stressful moments in individuals' lives, and you can feel real helpless. And it's nice we get to sit down with clients and go through their problems, and they can feel heard, and they understand that there is some recourse. And it's always nice to help somebody out of a personal situation like that, because for them, it could be their whole livelihood.
Yeah, I think even getting more specific to the question, when you have an abrupt adverse change to your health or your ability to earn money, provide for your family, there's nothing that can knock you down faster than that. And to help people in that situation, that's what our practice areas are about. Restoring lives when people have been badly injured or lost their jobs, or just like as you do every day when you're not in an environment where you can work and go work every day, make an honest living, go home to your family when you're having to deal with like sexual harassment or discrimination, just very tough stuff. So I think that's why it draws all of us the three of us at least, to those practice areas.
Agreed. Sure.
Okay, Matt says, what determines if a case will go to trial? Who wants to take this one?
I'll start with this one. So we value the case, and ultimately our job is to get the insurance company to pay what the value of that case is. Sometimes we're able to do that with pre-suit resolution, and in fact that happens a majority of the time. If not, then we file a lawsuit and litigate it. That doesn't necessarily mean the case is going to go to trial. I'd say a large majority of cases settle during the trial process, but ultimately if the insurance company doesn't offer what the case is worth, then we go try the case and have a jury decide what it's worth. So in short, that's what determines whether or not a case goes to trial.
Yeah, fundamentally, I think the simple answer is that the two sides disagree as to the value of the case, and each side, if a case goes to trial, is entrenched in what they believe the outcome of the case will be, to the point where they say it's worth the expense. And it is very expensive to try cases, but it's worth the expense to see what a jury is going to do. It means that the two sides are that far apart that a jury has to decide it. The fact finder has to decide it. So,
sure. Good question.
Good question. Yeah.
All right, Kathy says, great job for all you do for Tallahassee. What percentage of your cases are referrals from other lawyers?
That's a good case, and it's gone up the longer we've been in practice, and the older we get, I think. People see that we're doing good work. We're always happy to talk with other attorneys about their cases. We refer out cases to areas of practice that we don't handle. We don't claim to be experts in criminal law, bankruptcy law, things like that. So when we get calls, and as a follow-up to that, we get calls from a lot of people that say, I know you are, you may not handle this, can you help me? The answer is yes. Either we can help you, or if not, we'll get you to somebody who does it well. We can get you to a criminal lawyer or a bankruptcy lawyer, any type of lawyer.
Yeah, I think We do have quite a few referral cases. You know, if you have like a real estate lawyer who doesn't handle car accident claims, we've got several cases ongoing right now and that fit that mold. It's also not uncommon. The last case we tried over in Panama City was with two other local lawyers in town. So it's not uncommon for us to handle cases together. It's not a direct referral. We'll just work a case with another firm, and we welcome that opportunity. So, yeah, I guess that answers that question.
Perfect.
We play well with others.
And then right here it says this, so you guys obviously live pretty busy lifestyles. How do you manage like a work-to-life balance? I know two of the gentlemen in front of me have small children.
Yeah, we'll let you start first.
Well, as the one not having small children, it's a little bit easier for me to do it. But it's a great work environment to be around here, and they certainly don't want us to work everybody here to death, and they want us to have lives outside of this. So it's important just appreciate the time that you have off, take advantage of it. Going to football games on the weekends this time of year, out on the boat on Sunday, hanging out with friends, just maximizing the time away from the office and making sure you're enjoying it with good people.
I think it's just the same way everybody else does it. You just have to make it a priority in your life. And, we've represented thousands of people, and luckily I've never had a client. And if I've said, I've got to get out of the office, got to go do something with my family, I've never had a client say that that's unacceptable or something like that. So we try to, people, if we're going to take a case on, it is a priority, and we make time for both. I mean, that's just what you have to do. Priority for your family, priority for your clients, and other than my faith, I think that's how the order. So
our staff is absolutely incredible about that. We couldn't do anything that we're doing without them. They keep us on top of everything and just do an amazing job. So I keep hitting on what a great staff we have, but we feel like we have an awesome working environment. We love everybody here. They do a good job of help keeping us moving here and pushing along.
That's right.
Great. So Rachel says, Matt, what made you want to join Scott Wallace?
I've known Rob and Clint for a couple of years now. Actually, Rob's younger brother and I went to law school together, and the same reason they like each other, both hard-working guys. It's not an easy industry to break into, and they've been very successful, and they've got a great reputation around town. So for me, it was an easy decision when I sat down and met with them and kind of went over all the details. It's very hard to find young, energetic, hard-working attorneys who have got a practice that they've built from the ground up, so kind of jump at it when you get the chance to join that.
Mm-hmm. And we jumped at Matt because, we knew, as he said, I've known him for a while, and we've put floaters out there for a while about joining us, and luckily the time was right. Mm-hmm. So.
Great. Okay. Next question. What made you decide to want to expand to other markets, and when did that happen?
Yeah, we have offices in 4 locations now. We're in Tallahassee. We live in Tallahassee. We have our main office here. We have offices in Panama City, Thomasville, and Valdosta. And lots of our cases, being that we live close to Georgia, so we have lots of Georgia cases. And Georgia law is different. In some areas it's more favorable for plaintiffs. In some areas it's not as favorable. And so we were getting calls on that and felt like we could serve a need there. Robert and I both took the Georgia bar, or both are members of the Georgia bar, and I'm also a member of the Alabama bar. And so we service Alabama as well.
So that's it, yeah. People were inquiring about our services in those markets, those areas, and so...
Robert took the Georgia bar right when he's having a baby too, which is a good way to take a bar.
All right, now you're going to interrupt my priorities thing.
So.
All right, next question says, what advice would you give to students in law school? That's a good one.
Go to law school where you want to practice.
Yeah,
I guess that goes before you go to law school. I'm sure a lot of the educators that may run into this video aren't going to be happy with me. In fact, I was talking to the dean of law school. My wife actually took a job. She's now a law professor at Florida State, which is pretty cool. But I was talking to the dean of law school, and I told her the same thing, that we were discussing out-of-state students coming to Florida State, and there's not just a high number of those types of students. And I said, well, it's not shocking to me, because you want to go to law school where you want to practice law, because that's where all your connections are, that's where your first jobs are, and things like that. So my initial advice would be to go. Don't get caught up in the rankings of law schools. Go to a law school that's got a great reputation, that maybe has a specialty. Like I know Stetson, for example, in Florida, has got a great trial practice and trial program. So I'd say look at those types of things. The LSAT's huge.
Yeah.
So if you're considering going to law school, maybe your GPA is not as high as you wish it was. I can tell you they put a lot of stock in the LSAT, so make sure you get a good score there.
Yeah. My advice would be to
In law
take the
school.
Immigration Law Symposium with Robert's wife, Professor Darby Scott, excellent teacher, and she just started there. So
I would
Yeah.
say
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
find something that you're passionate about. There are so many different things you can do with a law degree. So many different areas of law, so many different jobs you can take, positions you can hold. So find what you're passionate about and, go out there and do your best at it. Don't just go in there your 1L year and take a class and think, oh, I kind of want to do this. There's plenty of stuff out there, like little classes that like Darby's teaching, the Immigration Law Symposium. Those are smaller classes that are very niche topics. So try to diversify your class schedule and find something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning.
Piece of advice for law students, I guess that was the initial question, or was the question. Don't focus entirely on salary, okay, when you're trying to get a job. If you want to be a trial lawyer, go work for the public defender or the state attorney's office. Go get trial experience. That's the most invaluable thing you can do. And they're not going to pay you great, so just know that going in. But you can't go, work for like a major real estate firm and think that you're going to wind up maybe as a personal injury lawyer. That's not the right track. So focus on what you want to do. And if you want to be a real estate lawyer, don't go work for the public defender's office, right? Go find a job doing those types of things. So,
Right.
Again, that's get more focused. Yeah.
good question.
Good question.
Yep, that's what we have so far. You guys got a lot of engagement, a lot of people liking and loving this post. Anything y'all want to add on a personal note? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm only one that haven't talked about what I've been working on today. I've been working on a dog bite case, and it's a Georgia dog bite case, which has different rules than Florida does. In Florida, if you have a dog and injure somebody, it's what's called strict liability, which means absent. The law always has some exceptions, but absent very limited exceptions, then you're liable for the injuries you cause. In Georgia, it's different in that typically you're going to have the dog bitten somebody before or have some other similar instance where they've hurt somebody or almost hurt somebody before to show that there's negligence there. And so just playing off of the question you asked before about Georgia, a lot of our practice is interesting in that we get to see the differences between the 3 states that we practice in and the way the different laws affect plaintiffs in those situations.
And it can affect case value.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked a little bit about case value. So when liability, when there's arguments, defenses, and things, we have the burden of proof. So when we're trying to prove a case, if the law in a different state opens up defenses, we have to take those into consideration if they're meritorious defenses, right? So
Sure.
Another thing we keep in mind when valuing a case.
Sure.
Question that just came in. What made you decide to get involved with Leon County Schools recently?
Well, that's easy for us. We have kids that are school age. We both have educators in our family, and there was a need there. We didn't realize the true extent of the need until we got involved, but we couldn't be happier that we've partnered with Leon County Schools. We've learned some really neat stuff, met some neat people, and we look forward to continuing it. We have some big things coming out with that. Megan helps us with that too. So.
Yeah, exactly right. It felt right. That was something that hit home with us. My mother was a special education teacher, elementary and middle school teacher. My sister was a teacher. Both my grandparents were administrators high up in South Carolina Board of Education, and so something that I've always been taught, and I understand the value of education. So that to do our part locally, that was, I think, something we definitely wanted to do.
That's great.
I've got a PTA board meeting for Kate Sullivan tonight at 6 o'clock, so you can come by if you like.
And Matt, your sister Kala is watching. She says, great questions. Love Leon County Schools XO.
Thank you, Cal.
It was good to see you the other day, Calla.
Yeah, and shout out to Calla with opening nights. They came and did a promotion where they gave tickets to an upcoming performance to some of the special needs children there. They're going to have a special needs performer that the kids are going to be able to see in person. Really cool work there, Calla. So
That's great. Clint, do you want to share a little bit of a tease about an upcoming PSA that both of your children are going to be in?
Yeah. So my kids were recruited the Florida Department of Transportation. But how much can I tell?
Right.
Maybe that's
You can tell a lot of
okay.
it.
So
Yeah.
we've got a video we'll have to watch. Usually it's Robert and I and Matt on the commercials. My kids see that. They're really excited about a commercial they have coming out. The 4-year-old was just kind of excited to be in it. The 6-year-old thinks he's a movie star. It's going to be great. So y'all look out for that.
Great.
So
Perfect. Calla says, you too. Thanks. Parsons Dance Company is going to be amazing.
okay. So Parsons Dance Company. All right. Awesome.
All right. Y'all want to kind of wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Tuesday.
How was the camera work?
I better be good. My arms are full.
Has it stayed like how it should have the whole time?
I wasn't in
Oh,
charge
yeah,
of it, so we didn't flip it the wrong way.
Yeah, we've stayed in the same
We
orientation
finally got it
the
out of
entire
Clint's
time.
hands.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
So, but if you have questions after this, always feel free to call us, Facebook us, text us, whatever. But we'll look forward to seeing all you guys back next Tuesday at 2 o'clock for In the Office with Scott Wallace.
And if you like this hashtag AMA stuff, then let us know because we'll do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the engagement. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.